All right. Hello and welcome everyone back to GrowthLoop Live. My name is Nolan Cruz. I'm the Director of Customer Solutions here at GrowthLoop, and I'm incredibly excited to be joined today by one of GrowthLoop's earliest customers, as well as a very close friend of mine, Brian Himstead, the CIO and VP of Technology and Business Analytics at the Kansas City Royals. Welcome, Brian, to GrowthLoop Live.
Thanks, Nolan. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to sharing a little bit about the Royals and a little bit about the great work that the Royals and GrowthLoop have done together over the years.
I'm very much looking forward to this as well. We have asked Brian to join us here today to talk about unified data, how to conceptualize it, how to build it, and how to leverage it to bring remarkable fan experiences to life, which in turn can deliver immense value back to your organization. Brian and the Royals team have done a phenomenal job over the past couple of years breaking down the barriers of their once siloed data stack to build a unified view of their fans, customers, prospects, all within their data warehouse. And this unified data, together with a composable CDP like GrowthLoop, has been able to unlock a number of new value-driving capabilities for the Royals, some of which we'll be sharing with you all today in this session. Well, Brian, let's get the show on the road. Would you mind kicking this off today by sharing a bit about who are the Kansas City Royals for anyone who possibly might not know, in order to get a glimpse into the scale of data we're talking about?
Yeah, for sure. Again, not to insult anybody's intelligence here, right? So we're one of 30 Major League Baseball franchises. We'll talk about what that means, I think, a little bit later, the league versus us as a franchise. But we play 162 games a year over the course of 6 months. That's 52% of the days of the year baseball occupies the mind space of people and our fans. Half of those games are at home, half of those games are on the road. So we have really from early April through late September and then into the postseason, we're kind of the background noise of summer for fans and sports enthusiasts across the country. We overlap a little bit at the beginning and ending of the season with the other big three leagues in the U.S., NHL, NFL, and NBA. But we have a pretty exclusive window where we're kind of the hottest thing going. And that makes us the number one most attended league in the world if you think about all the events that we put on across 30 teams. So just to continue a little bit about maybe Kansas City and Kauffman Stadium specifically. So Kansas City on the west side of Missouri, right on the Missouri-Kansas border. It's a regional team. It's a family environment. It's one that we've been noted time after time of it being a very welcome, very friendly environment that people love to come to, love to come back to. This year, we're going to have over 1.6 million fans come through our gates, which is great. Historically, we've been as high as 2.7 million in years during and after our World Series run in the early 2010s. But 1.6 million fans a year across 81 games is a great number. Those are folks that we do all the traditional engagement activities with, right? We want to figure out where you are. We want to figure out what you're interested in. We want to compel you to come to a game. We want you to have a great experience while you're here. We want you to be engaged and then come back and see us again as soon as possible. If you think of how baseball works too, it's regional, local, regional, and national. So, if you take a look at our market and those that say that they are Royals fans, it's the second highest percentage of local fan support of any area of the country. Those 931,000 fans across our multi-million population region is an incredible concentration of people that love our brand and love our team. If you think about the geography that we cover, a 6-state region that's really focused on Royals fans, 2.8 million fans across those 6 states. And then as we extend across the country, there's Royals fans everywhere. If you think about how people engage us, it's not just coming to the ballpark. There's other ways to consume both our brand and the brand of baseball. You're watching on TV. You're following us on traditional social media platforms, a lot of radio listening, and a lot of engagement through marketing channels, whether it be email, website, you name it. We're doing the same things that a lot of corporate businesses are, and hopefully a lot of things we'll talk about later around data, around fan engagement will be synonymous with sports and non-sports. Just to give you a scale of our following on social media, I won't read these numbers, but just an incredible number of engagements that we have on a year-over-year basis. And when we're having an exciting young team like we do now, the growth in those engagements is really something we're trying to take advantage of, and hopefully will kind of propel us to loop back all the way around to even more fans coming through our turnstiles in years to come. We're also, again, out of park. I think I mentioned this briefly on the prior slide. Very engaging on broadcast and streaming. Kansas City has always been a great market for watching teams at home. They're also a great market for watching teams streaming broadcasts online. And then our radio network just hits on the expansiveness of the territory that we try to engage fans. So not so much on the left-hand side about ads and engaging, but just look on the right-hand side about all the fans and the geography that we cover with our radio network. One of the things that I always loved as a kid in the game of baseball, it was just the background noise of summer. And it's something that you can see this reach and footprint that we have is great for helping fans engage with our brand.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for this overview, Brian. This is so helpful to get a better understanding of just who the Kansas City Royals are, much more than just a baseball team. And with that many touch points about your fans, it's no wonder how over time the collection and utilization of all this fan and customer data can easily become very siloed and difficult to bridge. And for everyone who's watching, could you please talk a little bit more about what your prior state of this data ecosystem looked like? What did your data architecture look like years ago, and what were the complexities and complications of that prior state?
Absolutely. So we'll go back and just touch on a point I made before. You know, we're a franchise, right? We're one of 30 franchises within the ecosystem that is Major League Baseball. So it's not unlike corporate franchise entities in the non-sports and entertainment world. There are a lot of things done centrally at our parent entity, Major League Baseball, and a lot of things that we do locally in our market as the Kansas City Royals franchise. That has a direct impact on the siloed data that Nolan highlighted. So the league does a lot of great things for the franchises, providing them tools, platforms, and technologies to engage with fans. A lot of the platforms, including websites, mobile apps, marketing channels like email, those platforms are actually maintained and operated by Major League Baseball and provided to the clubs for their use. As part of MLB providing that service to clubs, they're also the data collection mechanism for fans' engagement on those platforms. What that means is there's now a silo of data in the league office. We can access it as a club, but it kind of lives with the league. There's a lot of benefits to that, but it also presents a challenge because we're then engaging those same fans through different channels in our local market, sales channels, things like CRM, things like kind of one-to-one marketing channels that are really focused on that response of getting people to come out to a ball game. So if you look on this slide at league data, which right now lives in GCP, whether it if it lived in AWS or lived in Azure or lived in Snowflake or wherever it lived, that's where our league data lies. We're engaging fans in our CRM platform, generates local data. And we also have a lot of things that are generated locally here at the ballpark during our execution of a game. So that could be selling concessions, could be selling merch, could be the record of who's coming through a turnstile, could be a fan entering a contest or a sweepstakes at a game. All of those things historically were siloed data. The additional challenge is that those silos of data had slightly different identifiers of explicitly who a fan was. So Brian Himstead may be one thing to the league, maybe another thing to our sales team, maybe a third thing to our local systems and platforms. So our biggest challenge was just trying to provide some consolidation of that into a common picture that could be a structure for all of the transactional interaction data, but that's not what we had before. So we did a lot of heavy lifting, right? We did a lot of things that we brought together and brute force through reporting. We also had a lot of things that were done just through extracts of data, pulling CSV files and throwing them over the wall at a different system. I'm sure not unlike challenges that every company faces, right? But if you think about us trying to provide that golden record concept of a fan and everything we might know about them, as well as supporting our sales and marketing teams activating out to our fans to engage them, big challenges and all of that for us.
And I'm sure also with the setup, you didn't really have that direct loop back into your warehouse or within any kind of silo data set. You may not have been receiving how your fans are reacting to the material you're putting out. Is that right?
Yeah, it's absolutely right. The feedback mechanism, the knowledge of that And then the ability to leverage that was very limited. Absolutely. So, think about understanding when a fan opens or doesn't open an email, clicks or doesn't click on an email, when they're engaging on Facebook or Meta. All of that stuff was blind to us, or it existed in a fashion that didn't allow us to leverage it along with other maybe transactional things like ticket purchases that we had more locally here at the club.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it also just shows that how difficult it is to get an overall picture of your fans, right? Whenever you have such a siloed stack, right? You're having to just throw CSVs over, not get that response back. Lots of room for improvement. But so thank you for sharing this, Brian. I mean, I think this will resonate with everyone watching right now who can relate with your challenges that your team has faced with such a complicated data set. Let's start to give everyone some hope of, what's possible. I continue in this. Could you tell us a bit more about your vision for a better, more unified data stack? What was your strategy? What goals did you set out for this unified data ecosystem?
Yep. So aspirationally, right, as you set up an ecosystem, one of our mantras has been we have to be able to do four things coherently, consistently, and authoritatively in one ecosystem. And that's integrate data effectively into and out of a common, authoritative, trusted place that everybody knows is our source of truth. We need to be able to activate on that same data environment. So I don't want to take data from my environment, have to move it somewhere else so that another platform can activate on it. I want to be able to activate on that data from where it lies. That data's also got to be structured in a way that's effective for us to analyze. So it's not just, I want to send a marketing email to an audience. It's, I want to understand all the behavior of our fans so that I can score that audience and use it as an attribute for selection or exclusion criteria in a campaign. Have to be able to, in this ecosystem, support our analytics group doing the work that they do so effectively to help us understand our fans better. And then to help the organization understand and visualize data, also on the same kind of repository and source of truth. The last thing that we want to do is create a lot of moving parts in this ecosystem. So for us, it was providing one structure, one environment that could support all four of these activities effectively.
That makes total sense, Brian. One thing I want to key into a little bit closer, if I may, you mentioned how one of the key parts of this data ecosystem is the ability to help plug in tools as well to help activate that data outwards, right? And I use that data ecosystem as the foundation. Could you touch on this a bit more? What tools do you have in mind when you're thinking through this, and really for what use cases?
Yep. It's interesting. Use cases are terms that people use all the time, and that's great. I think sometimes people use the term use cases when what they really mean is quick wins. Because what we're really trying to do is build capabilities that we can grow over time and that build upon a foundation that we've established and that really can scale. So I don't think I don't like use cases in this context. What I really like are identified quick wins that can help us organizationally get momentum for tools like GrowthLoop, but then understand that it provides a broad capability that we can scale quickly and isn't going to be constrained by, well, when I want to do a new kind of scenario, it's going to take some kind of different setup, or it's going to take a different process, or you can't quite use the tool to do that. It was important for us to understand something that could deliver some quick wins, build some confidence, but that we also knew would have almost limitless scale. And that's really what a capability means to me, and where I think you've really got to think as opposed to a specific scenario-based use case that you're solving.
Yeah, I mean, that makes total sense. It brings so much more value to all the effort you put into building out that unified data state, right?
Yeah.
But it makes sense. I
Yes.
love that focus on capabilities over use cases. I've personally seen it multiple times where customers we get to work with daily who focus predominantly on the capabilities unlocked by having such a unified data stack, in conjunction with a tool like GrowthLoop on top, they tend to prove to have the greatest long-term value and a better chance of getting their various commercial teams, sales, marketing on board when they understand the greater capabilities that they're now empowered with. Much more powerful long term versus than just, to your point, putting out some quick use cases. Now, sure, that's great at showing value, but they can be quickly launched and quickly moved on from. Really understanding the capability, I agree, is a huge value. So now, how did you put this plan for this unified data stack into action? What steps did you and your team take in order to turn this dream into reality? What objectives did you have along the way?
Sure. I mean, to borrow a relatively commonly used kind of turn of phrase, right? It's think big, start small, scale fast. And it goes back to what we just talked about, which is thinking big is knowing what capabilities you need. Starting small is make sure you've got some quick wins, and then make sure that you can scale it quickly and maintain momentum over time. So for us, maximizing value of a platform means that we know it's going to be effective in layering on top of a data foundation that we've built. We know that we have a couple of great ideas of how to use it out of the gate, and then we're going to use it more and more over time. We build the organizational trust in doing that as well, which is that one source of truth. Can't tell you, I'm sure everybody who's listening to this understands the different ways to create versions of the truth that can exist internal to an organization, and how much more effective you can be when everybody's evaluating a single source of truth or a single viewpoint. So critical. And then, I think number 4 is an interesting one for me, right? I think we talk about democratization of process and democratization of data, training teams to leverage data and platforms and be self-sufficient. There's a burden with that too, right? So, one of the things that's really powerful about, getting people back close to your data and having platforms that allow people to get to it at a pretty specific level is you can do a lot of things with it. There's a burden of knowledge that comes with it, because you can misuse or misinterpret the meaning of things and therefore get off track. So we've tried to be really pragmatic about not only using a platform like GrowthLoop to enable teams, but also to kind of educate teams over what information do we really have? What does it mean? What does it imply? What are the repercussions of using it? What does the feedback loop from that data look like? So I think number 4 is an interesting one. I think everybody has a goal to engage and bring in as many people in the organization to use these platforms as possible. But I really do think making sure that people are well prepared and enabled to use it the right way and set everybody up for success is a big part of it. So that gets into 4, kind of into number 5, and governance is critical too. So by putting data together into a trusted platform, there's also an accountability mechanism to now it has to be right? There's no more 98% is good enough, or it's pretty close, or it's directionally correct, right? There's new processes that have to be put in place to make sure that it's as up to date as we say it is, that it incorporates the last insights that have been developed. It is full in its scope of fans that are encompassed in our kind of viewpoint of who should our targets be. So all a big deal. And then, the flexibility to kind of grow and optimize over time. For us, what that means is we built a foundational layer of data, but now as we have additional sets of information that include kind of fan identifiable transactions and interactions, it can seamlessly fold into our existing ecosystem. Now we have the ability to leverage it almost instantly. Once it's incorporated into our environment, it plugs directly into our tools.
I love to hear, Brian. As someone who has witnessed this change take place and take hold across your organization over the past couple of years, I can attest firsthand to the speed, efficiency, and overall value your team has been able to realize from having your unified data. And it only continues to get better month over month, as you say, right? As we continue to layer on more and more sources, as you, as Colin Brody, as Brian Desch, Daniel Sommerhauser, the rest of the team continue to invest more and more into improving your data maturity and unlocking new capabilities for even more teams across the entire Royals organization. But that's honestly just coming from me. I'm sure everyone here listening would love to hear a bit more from you regarding, what achievements and positive change has this unlocked for your organization?
Sure. And just to quickly give some credit where credit's due to some really talented individuals, part of putting this program in place has really been to enable a team of individuals and those that work with them in our data and analytics group, right? So Colin Brody is our data architect. He was really the kind of the advent of this along with GrowthLoop, right? You start with well architected data in an environment. Again, we talked about being able to integrate successfully information into a master data environment. Doing this sets him up for success and allows him to have, good ownership and good momentum in his function in the organization. Daniel Sommerhauser, who is our data scientist and analytics lead extraordinaire, having a basis of information that's more complete and comprehensive with a set of insights that he can now develop and provide back to the organization is a layer on top of great data, right? And then Brian Desch and his team, who work with all of our business owners on the solutions that they use across marketing and sales predominantly to engage with fans, is where that activates part of what we talked about really comes in. So it's really about enabling those individuals and their functions to be successful. And then it's about the business owners, right? It's about those teams that are in marketing and in sales and in other areas like corporate partnerships or our stadium operations group, who have really been hungry over time for process and insight that could help them be better informed to make decisions. And I think that's where removing these barriers and starting to build this more comprehensive picture, again, having trusted data, bringing information from Major League Baseball and club together effectively, was a really crucial step for us, and something that, again, it's been a stepwise build over time, but we'll look here in a minute at what this particular picture of a unified data architecture looks like for us and specific systems that we use. But it's really about the foundational layer of data that enables good analysis and insights, and then enables process orchestration across multiple systems for multiple business owners. That's what removing barriers and taking advantage of upside looks like. And also it helps us learn over time, right? So none of these things are, you put them in place, you run them once, and it's just like a motor that keeps on going, right? We do version 1 of something and we have a feedback loop where we want to make sure in a timely fashion we can learn. That could be learning about the success of promotional giveaways that we provide to fans to attract them to come through the gate. That could be the effectiveness of particular customized pieces of marketing creative and the level of engagement that they generate. Could be the effectiveness of our pricing power to generate additional revenue when we're trying to sell tickets to fans over the course of multiple weeks leading up to a baseball game, right? All of those things are part of the ROI picture that is delivered by a platform that, for us, again, it's based on GCP, but the overlay of tools and platforms like GrowthLoop on top of that.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear how, through our partnership, but then also really the testament to your team and all the hard work you put in, how your team has found so much value out of, the time, effort, and honestly, cost I put into achieving such a unified data. And to your point, all the capabilities that unlocks for you and for your team. So let's get into it a little bit. What does the current unified data ecosystem look like for you?
Yep. So I don't know if maybe we can go to the next slide that's on here. So our ecosystem. This is a very complicated picture with a lot of lines, but I'm going to relate it back to the things that we said earlier in our discussion. It's integrate, activate, analyze, visualize. So to do that, you've got to have a good foundation of data. That's everything that's in that center box. It's modeled data that for us create a set of master records continuously fed and improved by more information that we receive from outside systems. So all the boxes on the left drive in more useful data to us. And then out the bottom are the activation pieces, where GrowthLoop really helps us orchestrate activities across MLB marketing channels and club channels for sales and for sales-like systems. So we're continuously generating activity, and then you can also see the feedback loops that exist out of marketing channels, out of CRM, out of tools that we use like Community and Conversica that are club generated fan engagement data that feeds back into our knowledge of our fans. So we have one master data model that we call our interaction model, and it's channel independent. But it's really important for us to understand all of the activities across all of these channels that a fan participates in to get a real picture of how engaged that fan is. And if you'd have said 2 years ago, what does this picture look like? I probably would have given you two categories. I would have given you MarTech systems. I would have given you sales systems. But what we're starting to also see in tools like Community and Conversica are these kind of in-betweeners, right? These one-to-one, but maybe more orchestrated, automated platforms that are more marketing-like, but to a fan seem more sales-like. So we're supporting a spectrum of technology solutions now that engage fans. And again, it's Brian's terminology, but I start calling it RevTech. I don't call it MarTech. I don't call it sales systems. It's the technology fan engagement platforms that help us generate revenue. And once we start thinking about things that way as an organization, then holistically, we have everybody involved in the conversation and we're all moving things together in the same direction. So what does that really mean, right? It really puts some teeth behind terminology like journeys or sequences of activities that we might try to orchestrate and a path we might try to lead our fans down to get to a result, right? It might start with, I see an ad on Facebook that might lead to, I know you're engaged, so I'm going to send you an email, to your level of engagement is great, but it's not really powerful. I don't think you're really in yet. I'm going to use a discussion tool, kind of a bot tool like Conversica to warm you up as a lead. And then you bite. And then you say, I really want to talk to you about this specific thing. Let's get a real salesperson in touch with you to close the deal and really maximize your experience when you come out to Kauffman Stadium. That set of orchestration tools and techniques is really what a journey means and is something that GrowthLoop is critical to helping us orchestrate across, because they're doing the activation piece for us across all of those environments. And that's really where you harness the power. Now, I'm not going to say we've got it perfect. I'm not going to say that it's the most, that we're at the end. And that's the exciting part, right? We're continuing to learn. We're continuing to get better. We're continuing to see opportunity here. And we're excited actually that GrowthLoop's learning with us, right? We've had lots of great conversations about how far back close to the data, the raw data, can you take the journey orchestration, right? Because we don't really want orchestration within the bubble of CRM. We don't really want orchestration within the bubble of marketing tools. We want orchestration across that whole set of things. And we really, really think that's where the power lies. And we're really excited to keep taking advantage of kind of new features, new evolutions, new releases of the platform and the product.
It all goes back to what you said about RevTech, right? We talk a lot about MarTech, we talk a lot about sales tech, but whenever you get both teams on the same page is when you really start to see the best value get generated for an organization, right? And it's great to grow with the Royals, right? We love so much all the feedback you've given to us to help improve our product offering, and part of that, right, is what you see here on the slide, right? Is how can we work across all the marketing channels, but then also get deep into the CRM integrations, which I know your team has helped us build out immensely, and thank you so much. It's really cool to see. So now I got to ask, what's next? What's on the radar? What are you looking forward to building going forward?
Yeah, I think the thing we're concentrated on now is really bringing in additional analytical insights and helping inform the organization at a time where it can impact outcomes. And I said that very deliberately on purpose, right? So everybody is focused on taking descriptive to predictive, but we don't often talk about how predictive is most important. And those predictive insights and how we get them into the hands of business owners are only relevant if we're actually putting them in their hands at a time frame where they're actually using them to make decisions. So let's put that in context. We have to be able to give data-based insights to our sales team and our marketing team when they're in a position to determine, how do I best sell this, or what's the best marketing channel to deliver the best results? And we're working hard to push that availability of information in a timely fashion upstream and better inform some of the process orchestration that we've put in place, right? So decision making for a marketing team that says the business has this goal. We have a lot of people with a lot of great ideas of how to get to that goal. How do we use analytics to help evaluate and filter which of those ideas have the potential to deliver the most impact? And then how do we deliver that information to our sales and marketing teams so that they can make the meaningful decisions about what they're really great and expert at, which is how do you leverage the tactics and channels with that goal in mind and that approach in mind? Like that's the next level of orchestration of all this that's really exciting. And I'm going to tell you what I'm most excited about is we've created that appetite now over time when I think that's where we've evolved to is those are the questions we're getting asked, right? There's a trust in the data. There's proven results from the process. There's a appreciation of the insight and the value. And there's an openness to suggestion and ability for incremental improvement. That's just a really exciting thing for an organization to come together and rally around. So I think that to me is the most exciting. There's a lot that I kind of maybe unpacked there that's maybe it's Royal's specific organizational baggage, but I'm sure it's not unique to us, right? We're all just trying to get better, and we're trying to spend the money that we have the best that we can to deliver the best results that we have the possibility to deliver. And when we're moving a conversation for how do we maximize ticket revenue for the 2025 season before the All-Star break of the 2024 season, then it gets exciting because we're really thinking ahead and we're really thinking about how do we plan most effectively for next year.
That all makes total sense. Now, out of kind of just curiosity, how do you think all these new capabilities will improve your fans' experience, right? We always say at GrowthLoop, right, customer comes first. Your customers are your fans, right? How do you think these new capabilities that we're talking about will improve their experience with the Royals? What new benefits are you excited to bring to your fans that, potentially those listening, no matter what industry they're a part of, could also achieve with the right focus and capabilities and tools in place?
Yeah, I'm going to offer an interesting combination of things here. I'm going to offer up what people probably expect, which is more personalized, customized communications that are more applicable to the psyche and mind space of a fan. We talk to them about their level of interest. Some people are casual fans of the game. Some people are avid fans of the game. Some people want to come to a lot of baseball games. Some people want to come to a single game against a big opponent, right? So all of this allows us to do what you'd expect me to say, right? Which is to help us be more personalized and contextualized in all of our engagements with the fan, from when they start considering to when they attend to hopefully taking some meaningful things away from their experience. But I'm also going to tell you something you don't expect, right? Which is to actually start driving some choice bias and actually removing some of the noise and complexity around the things that bombard a fan. Sometimes we think all this information allows us to throw a million ideas at a fan and see which one sticks. Sometimes that doesn't resonate, right? Sometimes that gets in the way of a true impact for a fan. So part of what we do with this whole thing is we actually can start to analyze information and remove things that we can statistically and analytically show aren't working and maybe detracting from the overall experience of a fan. It could be Maybe we need less different food items in the stadium. Fans might spend just as much money or more money if there wasn't so much choice, right? Maybe we have too many offers of ways to buy tickets. Maybe simplicity actually helps drive decision. Sometimes you get analysis paralysis, right? Of I have 1,000 things to look at as a fan. How do I know if I'm getting the best deal? From a marketing engagement standpoint, really narrowing down what's the most fan proven for this fan engagement channel that they've shown that they want to interact with, and remove the noise. So it's interesting, right? I gave you the answer you expected, which is personalized, contextualized, but I think the one that you don't expect is just as important, right? Which is help them focus on taking the most out of the experience that they've shown they want and removing other noise out of the way.
I think I can speak for all sports fans. I think that would be amazing, right? I'm very excited for what the future holds for engaging with, my favorite sports team and players. I'm sure others feel the same. I wanted to just take a quick second to thank you, really, for being such a thought leader and inspiration around this topic and advancing what fans are looking for, whether they know it or don't know it, really. I truly believe the future of both personalized and deeper fan engagement is really just around the corner if we're not already there today. And I can't wait to do everything we can to help you make this vision reality. I have one last question for you today, Brian. Why is now the time to focus on the unified data ecosystem and the capabilities that it unlocks? What advice and/or encouragement do you have for those listening and wondering when is the right time and how do you get started?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and I, quite honestly, I'll applaud our organization and our ownership and leadership of our organization, because they, more than anybody, understand how meaningful and impactful this is. So this doesn't happen without, advocacy and buy-in at the very highest level of our organization and consistently across that whole layer of executive team. But, the time to do this is, I say now, but the time to do it's yesterday, right? The complexity is only going to grow. So to get your arms around this and to establish the foundation to build on, you have to make the investment. You have to make the data investment. You have to take internal ownership of the structure and the meaning of the information that's critical to you as an organization. And then again, the second point here is I don't focus on use cases. I focus on capabilities that are that are empowered by quick wins. And I think that's what we did with a lot of great early work that we did. Is we established how it was going to help us, get out of the gate really quickly, and then how it would help us scale fast over time and help us lay the foundation for greater capabilities down the road. But those couple of quick wins, right? For us, those quick wins were more timely availability of data, more timely orchestration and activation of marketing campaigns. So in our world, we used to have the creative process done, waiting for the data process to catch up. We have this great piece of information to put in front of fans, but we don't know and can't get quickly what list of fans should receive it. Now that's flipped. Our ability to get an audience definition in seconds to our different rev tech channels and start to activate on an audience, and we're pushing the pace at which we can get creative development done, because that right now is the long pole. Not that it's that long of a pole, but like, it's interesting how we flip that over time. That's a quick win. And then, finally, not just getting the information in front of people, but, again, forming the foundation of real, true, meaningful analytics. Like those are a big deal for us. And I can't stress it enough, right? Is unified data ecosystems a big deal, and then tools that can layer on top of or plug directly into that environment are meaningful, differentiated, and critical. There's a lot of tools out there that are, here's how I work. I need you to take what you do and bring it to my world, change it this way, and then we'll be effective. And the heavy lifting and demand of time and ongoing maintenance that takes is consistently underestimated by organizations. And to be honest, we're a big brand, but we're a small team of individuals, right? All the things that we've talked about today, all the stuff that I've talked about today, in terms of an analytics, data, and technology team, you're talking about less than 7 people, and you're serving marketing and sales teams that are also strapped for resources that aren't hundreds. We're not a large corporation. We're a small to mid-sized business, right? And so thought processes like this are also aligned with how do you maximize what you can do with the people and talent and team size resources that you have. So these concepts fit into that as well. It's not like we've got a giant custom dev team, right? So very, very important. I take those lessons away and provide those to anybody. Lay the foundation, get some quick wins, have capabilities that you can scale over a long period of time, and understand the resources that you have available to you, and make sure you're putting systems and processes in place that you can manage and maintain and own over time.
I love that list. Yeah, thank you for providing that, Brian, and thank you again just so much for your time today. I know you're busy, and I very much appreciate you taking the time out to join us here at GrowthLoop Live. I know I've learned a ton from you over the years, and I very much appreciate your partnership to continue to guide GrowthLoop, as we continue to develop new features that unlock new capabilities, maybe not use cases, capabilities, right, Brian? For the world, as well as for all of our customers. And I'm sure everyone here listening is learning a great deal as well. So thank you so much, Brian, for joining us.
Thanks to you too, Nolan. You've been a great friend, and GrowthLoop has been a great friend to the Royals and a great partner. We look forward to that continuing.
That's our session today. Please return to the lobby for the next session, and it'll get underway here in just a second.